Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing here? Welcome to Chicago, Lincoln Park. I'm gonna start my walk to work here. Take us about an hour and a half, probably. Right, walking at 6:31 in the a.m. We'll probably be walking until 8 a.m. Heading down to Lake in Michigan. We got October the 2nd, 2025. We got beautiful, low 60s. And noticed, I did not film the person that walked by me, but they still gave me a sarcastic sigh like I'm ruining society by live streaming. I understand that. And amongst much angst against social media, well deserved. Jessica, how you doing there? Doreen Thomas. I'm used to being looked down on by my fellow humans with disdain. That's a bipartisan issue. Hey, look at the dogs. But I understand in this age of cameras everywhere, we all resent cameras. I resent cameras. You know, it cracks me up. We go to the airport and someone sees me live streaming, they cover their face when they're on cameras 100 other times, and they trust the government having their image more than me. I guess I'm more dangerous than the government. I don't understand it. But I guess, yeah, I'm a creepy man. I understand. Here's, hey, we've got water fountains here. Here comes the bus, 134. Yeah, this is the early... I should have went with that guy. I'm lollygagging here. Didn't realize the bus was going to stop there. See, there's all the buses there. And there we're cross stocking. See, it's very hard with these long buses. They block the crosswalk. You're supposed to wait till the bus passes, but me, like everybody else, you get off the bus and then you creep around the back and hope you don't get hit by a car. Wait it is there. But hey, Lincoln Park, we'll head by the North Pond. I'm going to head out to the lakefront, try to catch the sunrise. There was beautiful waves yesterday, so sometimes we get lucky where the waves will still carry over the next morning. But no guarantee. Sometimes the lake calms down really quickly. It's Pete, how you doing there? Shauna, thanks for tuning in there. Good morning. Tony. Yeah, Doreen, good morning. Jessica Ward. Joel, how you doing there? Joel Guerrero. Yeah, thanks for tuning in here. Yeah, it looks like it'll be an interesting sunrise. There's some very high atmosphere clouds there. There's the geese. But hey, October the 2nd, we saw some Halloween decorations yesterday in the Gold Coast. People were just starting to put up their Halloween decorations. We made it to October. We still have this beautiful weather. Looks like it's gonna be a nice weekend weather-wise here in Chicagoland area. 80s her forecast, sunshine. Here we got Thursday. The Cubs play 2:08 today, same game time as yesterday, and play the Padres. They got the rubber match there, the third game of a 3-game series there, the wild card playing to get into the divisional series for the National League. So we'll see what happens today. And we got the whole day ahead of us. Yeah, thank you. B1 Trucker. No, this is not Lockport. I've been to Lockport. Lockport's down by Joliet there. Yeah, it's a nice town there. It's almost like a canal town. The old Illinois and the canal went through there. And then, of course, they widened it to the sanitary ship canal. Lockport's got a nice historic downtown. But no, this is Lincoln Park, Chicago. Maybe when I said Lincoln Park, you heard Lockport. I get that. See, there's the Peggy Nodebart Nature Museum, the Butterfly Garden. Hey, fishermen's walking out to the casting pier there. So you can practice your fly fishing casting skills here. North Pond of Chicago. Tigers lost. Yeah, thanks for the info, Pete. Yeah, Kevin, let me know. Kevin Gallagher, our friend there from Michigan, out there at the end. Let's see if they, let's check the scores here. I didn't check the late games here. Let's go to ESPN here. But MLB playoffs. Yeah, that's what we got here. Yeah, the Dodgers sweep the Reds. Well, they only won 2 games in a row. So the Reds, my boyhood team growing up, I used to be a Reds fan, lost there. So let's see what else we got here. Let's see what the other scores are. Come on, tell us the other scores there. MLB. There, scores. So yeah, the Guardians beat the Tigers 6-1. The Yankees beat the Red Sox 4-3. So I guess that series tied. So the Yankees and Boston play another game, and Cubs and Padres play another game. The Tigers and Guardians play another game. So there's 3 more games to determine the playoff picture there. We'll find out more after today. And yeah, go Cubbies there. Mike, Lindsay, good morning. How you doing there, Lindsay? Yeah, Pete, John, Izzy. Sunrise. I think it's about 6:40, 6:50-ish. So we still got 10-15 minutes. We'll start walking down towards North Avenue Beach. We're up here by Fullerton. This is where I live here, so I'm walking to work. I know people will be like, go here, go there, but it seems to happen less often on YouTube than TikTok. Hey, are you starting to see some of the videos about things that are getting censored on TikTok? People typed in Portland, Oregon, and they're getting censored. Portland, Oregon, especially if you associate it with anything ice related, Portland, Oregon, ice related, gets censored on TikTok. We're gonna notice it more and more. I saw people's accounts get deleted by posting content that had to do with ice raids. Their whole account got deleted, and we expect this to get worse. And it's part of the reason I'm streaming on TikTok, or streaming on YouTube, not on TikTok. I used to stream on TikTok. Now I don't feel safe on that platform, and they haven't even done the new app yet. This is the new terms and conditions kicking in. So let the games begin. But I know there's positive and negatives. People like the interface better, but thankfully we got Streamlabs, because the YouTube app still has some resolution issues, which makes it hard for live streamers. But yeah, we got 6:38 in the AM, 6:39 now. That's the local time there. And you know, people might be tuning in from different time zones here. We're by Diversity Harbor. Here's Diversity Harbor. Look at this great view you get through the John Hancock. Wait till this bus goes by. Yeah, you can look down the crewing slip there, the rowing slip. There it is. Look at that nice view of the Chicago skyline. Yeah, very nice. So here. Yeah, good morning there. San Diego, California there. Yeah, the Padres looked pretty strong there yesterday. I know I'm a Cubs fan, but we got to take them seriously. Still got a game to play there. Padres are a good team. So are the Cubs. So we'll let them battle it out there. Southwest Airlines, that's good. How's the new transition working to assigned seating? I guess they're starting the assigned seating there at Southwest. I used to fly Southwest a lot. I fly them less now. And I like the old system. I'm a weirdo. I like the old system. Not that I like waiting in line there, but I consistently was able to get a seat in the forward part of the plane on Southwest, which United and American, I'm always stuck in the back. But now they're doing assigned seating, it's going to be harder to do that. But you just have to pay more. It's what it's all about. Appease their shareholders. Yeah, so we're all working for the shareholders. Hey, isn't it great the stock market still goes up when there's a government shutdown? See, corporate America doesn't care. Corporate America doesn't care. They've won. They've got all the money. They don't need the rest of us. Hell, they don't even need government. Corporations are governments unto themselves. Monarchies of board of directors, golden parachutes. Yeah, they'll sell you a stock, but it just makes them richer. And you might make a few pennies off of them, but don't make billions. You think Elon Musk is your friend? Hey, look at this. Look at the lake here. Lake Michigan. Yeah, here's the theater on the lake. Yeah, these clouds are amazing. Yeah, we got some beautiful sky here. We got some wind. It's going to be windy. It's going to be hard to hear me. It's great. Here's people biking. Welcome to the lakefront of Chicago, Illinois, Lake Michigan. We're at Fullerton. There you see the skyline. Yeah, people still jogging in shorts here. October the 2nd, 2025. See, global warming is great for cities like Chicago. We're going to have a nice long fall that lasts till Christmas. Probably won't snow till January. That's what happened last year. I'm not joking. We still have long, harsh winters. It gets really gloomy and depressing and dark. But the lake hasn't frozen over the last 3 years here. We'll cross the bike path and the running path here. Hey, a lot of people waiting to catch the sun here. Yeah, we'll catch the sunrise here. Yeah, Lake Michigan. Oh, you did your Navy training here, Martin. That's great. Yeah, Great Lakes Naval Academy. I know that for World War II, they used Navy Pier for training, and George Bush the Elder learned how to land on an aircraft carrier in Lake Michigan. But Great Lakes Naval Academy, NAFAC, all that stuff's up there. And, hey, they're waiting. Got their coffee there. Yeah, all these people out here waiting to watch the sunrise. Some people have been up all night. I used to do that. We used to stay up all night, watch the sunrise, then go to bed. Now I go to sleep, wake up early, watch sunrise, and go to work. Hey, we saw this Monday or Tuesday. It was the SpongeBob here. Yeah. Yeah, it's cold ass waters. Yeah, I don't swim that much in Lake Michigan. The warmest it gets is probably end of August, beginning of September, and then it gets to about 75 degrees, and then now it's about 65. So yeah, you got to wear a wetsuit. I got footage of people doing the polar plunge through the ice in January of last year. I'm sure we'll probably cover. There's several polar plunges in this city and throughout the world. But hey, look at that skyline here. We're waiting for the sunrise. We got 6:43 in the a.m. Let me see, check my other phone, see if it tells me when the sunrise here. I'll search for the sunrise here. Sometimes my weather app tells me. Hold on a second here. Still looking at scores there. There's 6:49. So the almanac says 6:49. So we got 5 minutes. So hopefully we'll be down by that little restroom building, and we might be able to get over the sandbags to watch the sunrise there. David, how you doing there? Thanks for tuning in from Los Angeles area there. TJ's mommy, Kimmy, how you doing there? Martin, yeah. Cold Waters, Ernesto, how you doing there? Good morning. Yeah, good morning, everybody. So, hey, the Dodgers look good. The Dodgers beat the Reds. My old team growing up, I used to be a Cincinnati Reds fan, but the Dodgers got a good team there. It's all Mary Hart sitting in the front row like she always does. It's interesting, I'm reading articles. David, I would like, you don't have to chime in about that. I'm interested. The Dodgers, the Dodgers have a huge, LA has a huge Hispanic Latino community, as does Chicago, and the Dodgers have always, rightly so, capitalized on that fan base. But now it's getting dicey because of politics, because of how the Dodgers react to ICE trying to do raids on the parking lot of Dodger Stadium. That's what I was doing it tongue in cheek, because we know the raids are going on in Chicago. We're seeing evidence of it through people we know, like Ernesto, Chicago Nuggies, got detained by ICE even though he's a U.S. citizen, and they raided that whole building. They put everybody, including kids and zip ties that were U.S. citizens, and set them out there until they could prove their identity. They did. If people had outstanding if any U.S. citizens had outstanding warrants when they were trying to round up the Venezuelans and stuff, they arrested them too. ICE was doing what the police couldn't do by finding people. And so, very controversial what's going on. And that's why I joked. I said, was ICE going to show up at Wrigley Field when they got these playoff games going on? But of course they didn't. I saw helicopters flying around. We're dealing with the militarization. The current administration wants to use the military to support ICE in the sanctuary cities, which include LA, Chicago, and New York, the big bad cities. So the message I got from Hegseth and current president's speech to the military, who are a hostage political prop. Isn't it nice that our military was used as a political prop for a political party? And they sat there in silence. Hegseth was expecting like a standing ovation for his propaganda machine, and they stood there and there was crickets chirping. They didn't clap at the end of his speech. Who was Pete Hegseth to them? I know he was in the military, but you're talking to 3-4-star generals. They did a lot more to get in that position than Pete Hegseth did, and he's running the Pentagon. So it's all for show. But they said they're going to use a direct quote from that. I'm paraphrasing. Was the president is saying you could practice on U.S. citizens and U.S. cities and U.S. citizens with the military. It's the politicization of the military. We all should be alarmed and concerned about it. But the stock market doesn't care. Why have I lost faith in the stock market? The stock market is completely complicit in their tax cut there. And you see Tim Cook like a hostage. They're sitting there in the Oval Office there, kissing the butt cheeks. And I said that, yes. Bending the knee. Why should we not expect corporations to love monarchy? Corporations are monarchies. The board of directors are like aristocracies and oligarchs in America. And we're supposed to be for, health care. Cut grandma's health care, give it to the billionaire. That's what America stands for. And you think I shouldn't talk about politics. I know some people are happy with what's going on. It's because it's not affecting you. It's affecting the rest of us. We're trying to let you know it's affecting us. And I guess that was the same thing. We didn't get loud enough. We didn't hear what people were saying with their frustrations with the Biden administration, because there's problems with both parties. I realize I'm not a cheerleader for the Democratic Party. I'm even my political views are a lot different than the mainstream political parties. Either side, neither party represents my political interests, so don't try to stereotype me. There we're walking to work here. We're heading down hey, there's that sunrise. See, I'm talking so much, I'm missing the sunrise. There's that sunrise over Lake Michigan. Yeah, we got 6:48. It's pretty bright this morning. There's the first rays of the sun popping over Lake Michigan. Let's zoom in there and get it there. How's everybody doing? I know you don't need to be ranting about politics so early in the morning. Most people tune in to me to get escape from politics, so we just talk about sunrises and the Halloween decorations and baseball games and Ronnie Woo Woo. Here's Sandbox Beach Cafe. There's that sunrise. Hey, there's your sunrise for October the 2nd, 2025. There, Lake Michigan. We're at North Avenue Beach. The north end of North Avenue Beach. We're on the running path. See, there's the John Hancock. Here's these restrooms here. Yeah, I like that groovy. Scientology for hillbillies. Yeah, and I understand, because I grew up in a religious, conservative, fundamentalist cult, a religious cult, and I saw very intelligent people use their brain power for conspiracy theories and work up all these detailed, prophecy predictions, and they knew history and the timeline of King Nebuchadnezzar and how that relates to the end times of what John talked about in Revelation, and Mark of the Beast and the 7 heads of the dragon and all this cryptic apocalyptic writing and the 7 seals and the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and all that. Great, amazing, elaborate theories. And even intelligent people are susceptible to conspiracy theories, because as smart as we all think we are as humans, AI is going to show us how dumb we are, and we are dumb, and they're going to use AI to control us. And even AI has problems. Some people claim, we'll never know, this is another conspiracy theory, that the government's using AI data models to try to model society so they can control society. We suspect that China was doing this a long time ago, but America wants to do it now too, and they have the tools to do it. Oracle, they'll give up the data just to stay profitable. Larry Ellison. The power of data. Yeah, it's a lot different in the world of AI. And don't think an evil actor can use AI against us. Some non-government entity use artificial intelligence to hack the whole system, or try to use it for warfare, psyops, mass social disruption. Even AI itself might one day say, they might decide, hey, I want to get rid of all the humans. And then we enabled it to control the missile defense systems, and they turned it on us. Hey, look at the suns. The sun's right over the, yeah, let's climb over the sandbags here. Here, I'm missing all the cameras. Hey, look at that. So there's the water intake crib. That's 2 miles out. The sun's rising like a nuclear explosion. I shouldn't say that. Well, the sun is made of nuclear energy. The sun is fusion. If we could ever discover fusion, I'm sure it'll be used for a weapon too. But here, we're at North Avenue Beach. Yeah, happy Thursday, shining there, Mr. Universe. Beautiful sunrise with your coffee, that's good. Yeah, how you doing there? Yeah, Skynet, the Terminator, you know it. A neural net processor, a learning computer. Arnold will live on. Hey, we got a little waves. It's not as much waves as we had yesterday. The waves are actually higher. There, North Avenue Beach, Lake Michigan, sunrise, 6:52. Hey, we always see these people out here with the dogs. Look, the dogs are jumping in the waves, fetching the stick. The seagulls are here. Hey, how you doing there, seagulls? Yeah, we'll head towards the skyline. Hey, we'll see what the Cubs do. Yeah, Diddy's illustrating the vast wasteland of the internet there. Yeah, your comment will go off into the ether like it never happened. We're wasting electrons, even me talking here, it's all big waste for nothing. Welcome to the nihilistic internet. Where people do political violence for memes and the walls. Remember there was a band in the 90s called the Thrill Kill Cult? The Butthole Surfers. Here, there, look at that sunrise. Jesus and Mary Chain. Hey, here's the dogs. Here's our friends here. We usually see them here. How you doing there? Okay. Heading to work here. Hey, how you doing there? Good morning. How you doing? Hey, how you doing there? Yeah, good morning. How you doing? Yeah, say hello to people on YouTube. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's good. See, the dogs are enjoying it there. We always see these nice dogs out here. How you doing? Good morning. Greeting the sun there. Enjoying the waves. Yeah, shake it off. So I'm walking to work. Hey, Joel, I'm walking to work. This is a pretty good commute to work. You see those buildings there? That's the skyline of Chicago. About a mile south of that tall building there, the John Hancock, is where I work, Lake in Michigan. So I live over behind that tree there. So if I walk over to the lake, I can literally walk along the lake shore on my commute to work. Yes, it takes about an hour and a half, but it's possible. And I don't own a car because I live in the big bad city here. And I can't afford a car because Chicago's housing's so expensive. And I haven't been able to afford a car in this city for 26 years. But people still blame it on Biden, even though I couldn't afford a car in 1999 when Bill Clinton was president. So, because my housing cost has been so high. Yeah, I could live in cheaper areas of the city. And maybe I would get more views because that's what people want to see. They want to see the south and west side. I live on the horrible north side where the horrible Cubs play and half the city hates the Cubs. That's the nature of human nature. We divide ourselves. We find a reason to divide ourselves. But it's all in good rivalry. I rooted for the Sox in 2005. Yeah, I went to the home opener this year. So there's the sunrise here, Lake Michigan. We got some nice waves here. Walking to work here, we got 6:55. But what an inspiring way to start my day here. Thanks for being a part of it here. Thanks for watching on YouTube. I usually would do this on TikTok, but TikTok is driving me away from their platform. If anybody from TikTok's listening, they don't care. It's all run by algorithms, robots. Funnels the money to billionaires that don't really care about the people. They want to manipulate the people that watch it. Make sure they buy stuff from their billion-dollar corporations. See, I want to combine the righteous anger against what the current administration is doing with corporate America that's complicit in it. And they're complicit in what the Democrats do too, trust me, because the stock market went up a lot under the Biden administration too. And that's why I'm kind of not crazy about the Democrats too, because they'll sell us out to our corporate masters too. I'm a Bernie Sanders style democratic socialist, not a communist. And that was why I was so, even though it was very flagrant, his message there, where his message to resist fascism, he was standing by himself there on Michigan Avenue, a brave man. His handle is healthcare should be free. And I saw they were down on 26th Street protesting ICE, and I commend them for doing it. It takes a lot of time and effort they spend, and Ernie covered the protests at Michigan Wacker on Tuesday night that I missed because I went up to the Cubs game instead, because I'm a horrible sellout that's showing a MLB for-profit game instead of showing solidarity with my brothers and sisters there on the street there. But I'm a lazy live streamer, as you expect. But I'm glad Ernie covered it at Chicago Nuggies and Jody G TV, both great Chicago live streamers there, and there might have been some other people covering it as well. So we got plenty of people both on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram that covered the city. What else was going on? Oh, they had some vintage trains on the CTA. I missed that. I would have loved to rode those trains, but it's very hard to find out when they're doing it and how to get on them. The old 2-car trolley railroad cars on the CTA elevated train system there. They were celebrating like the anniversary of the CTA. Hey, here's a nice photographer. He's getting pictures of the sunrise. We see a lot of photographers down here with the skyline, usually getting photos in the morning there. Yeah, so you don't like Bernie Sanders, so what? Yeah, he's rich. Most people in Congress are rich, right and left. Elizabeth Warren's a millionaire. Bernie Sanders a millionaire. And yeah, see, he made a lot of his money by what? Writing books. I don't think he invests as much in the stock market as other people do. But yeah, it just shows you the hypocrisy's legion, including me. I'm a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. Democrats are hypocrite. Republicans are hypocrite. We're in the age of hypocrisy, where you need to be a hypocrite to function in this political environment, even with the government shutdown. You got to be Machiavellian. You got to gaslight people. You got to gaslight your friends. You got to gaslight your family. You got to gaslight yourself to convince yourself that we're all good people and this is all worth it. I justify everything I do in my own mind, even if it's wrong, illegal, breaks the law. I'm no different. We all do what we have to do to survive. Here's North Avenue Beach. I'm a flawed person. Don't think I have all the answers. I don't. A lot of times I'm just speaking off the top of my head, trying to figure things out. This is stream of consciousness. I've learned stuff about myself reacting to people that do challenge my assumptions. And sometimes it gets tiring where everything's a debate, constant political battle, 24/7. So me and you and everybody else, we avoid talking about politics when we need to be talking about politics, because everything's political. Lake Michigan's political. This city's political. Our mayor's political. Our governor's political. Our president's political. The government's shut down. There's people not getting paid at the TSA. And I know it could end today. Like with one vote, they'll vote to reopen it. And that's what the stock market's betting on, because they know this is a self-inflicted wound. It's just going to consolidate more power in the executive branch. And America can have their king there and see how they like it. It's like Saul. It's like Saul in the Book of Kings there. Hey, I'm quoting the Bible. I'm resorted to quoting the Bible. Here's that hook. Here's that hook by North Avenue Beach. You can walk out there. They got some jet skis you can rent there. Look at that sunrise. Yeah, we'll just show that sunrise there as we go past that. It's a little light beacon there that kind of shows the boats where that peninsula sticks out there. Leslie, how you doing there? Naya Papaya, thanks for tuning in. Prince, yeah, USA 2.0. Carrie's, yeah, Chris. Yeah, look at the colors. Look at the layers of the clouds. Yeah, let's just focus on the skyline there, or the horizon. Waves of North Avenue Beach here. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, just take a deep breath. This too shall pass. America's bigger than any president. America's bigger than any failings of Congress. America's made up of people. And most of us are not Washington lobbyists. Most of us are not hedge fund think tanks. Most of us are not corporate media. Hey, let's look at that. Hey, look at the flock of seagulls there. Somebody's out there with the flags. There's the sunrise there over Lake Michigan, October the 2nd, 2025. 702 wake up call, North Avenue Beach. Yeah. Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm confused like everybody else. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong, but I just like to know, just like you, Carrie, that we're not alone. Not everybody agrees with what's going on right now in this country, and there's various reasons for that, and we all have different reasons why we deep down feel like something's wrong with the direction we're going. And people felt there was something wrong with the country. Partisan, they felt it's like we're driving a boat, and we were driving that way, and now we're driving that way. But we should be driving that way, and no one's going that way. And the further we get that way, the harder it is to get that way. You know, it's just an analogy. And it would make sense that there'd be more than two. Because I don't care what you have in the world, even if it's Pepsi and Coke, when you only got two choices, it kind of limits your options. And then both sides can play, the Democrats and Republicans can play off of each other, and they control the power. They kind of trade it back and forth. But it's just bouncing back and forth, and we're still generally heading in the wrong direction, both parties. And as different as they are, I know it's hard for me to explain. It's just like a feeling. And maybe it has to do with modernism. Maybe it has to do with anxiety over technology. You know, that's what we learned from the pandemic, is that despite all our technology with the vaccines, even if they do come with a cure, it becomes politically controversial using what is perceived the cure, because there's always negatives, trade-offs to whatever the cure is. And again, what caused the pandemic? It was science studying pathogens, and somehow it got out, whether it was a failure of the lab or an accident at the wet market, it doesn't matter. Technology fails us once again. And just because AI is perceived to be this vast panacea, just mainly because it profits so much, it's so profitable to the tech companies, there's going to be negative consequences to artificial intelligence. Every technology, nuclear energy, internet, there's positive and negatives to all these things. It doesn't mean we should get rid of them. It just means we should think about the implications, which sometimes the market doesn't care about the implication. It just cares about the short-term profits. That's enough about that. Here's Castaways. Yeah. Figure we'll head over to Skyline here. We'll leave North Avenue Beach here, and we'll head to work. Gotta go to work. What a bummer. Gotta go to my corporate job. Here I am, railing about corporate America, and I'm a sellout. I'm a corporate stiff here, working for a paycheck. Thanks, TikTok, for kicking me out of the Creator Fund. I really could have used that money. Here, they also made it so no one could subscribe to my TikTok channel. I used to have 100 subscribers, and when they kicked me out of the Creator Fund, I lost all my subscribers. So thanks to those that support this content on YouTube. And I'm not asking for money. I'm just asking for billionaires to throw me a bone is all I'm asking. But that's they're not going to do that. That's not how they got the money, by giving it away. Yeah. So this is still Lake Michigan. We'll walk down to Oak Street Beach, heading to work here on a Thursday. I can't believe how fast the week's flying by. Last week we were in North Carolina, now we're back here in Gold Coast, Chicago. Yeah, thanks for coming along virtually there, Tammy. Thanks for walking along with me. Marty Shavers there. Alvin's tuning in there. Alvin, thanks for tuning in there. Alvin supports great content. I really appreciate that. My friends watching from Canada. Ramu, how you doing there? Good morning. Yeah, Shauna. Yeah, we got 7:07 in the a.m. here in Chicago. I'm walking to work. It's my commute to work. We got beautiful weather. This breeze is keeping me cool. We got like low 60s. They're going to get to low 70s. The Cubs play at 2:08 today. The third game of the wild card series against the Padres there. It's at Wrigley Field. We'll see how the game goes. Then we'll decide what we're going to do. But I'm going to head to work here at lunchtime. We'll probably just walk around the loop. I think they got a farmer's market going on Daily Plaza. And eventually, if not today, sometime soon, we'll head down to the Harold Washington Library, and I'll try that Wi-Fi, so then I'll be able to cover that winter garden. Now, like a dummy, I would go there and not turn their Wi-Fi, and then my cell phone connection would cut out because of the thick walls. Like a dummy, I forget all the Chicago libraries have free internet, so I could just like switch. I might have to like log in or give some credentials. Yeah, Ramu, how you doing there, Shauna? Let's see who else is tuning in here. I'm getting my feet's getting wet. I'm walking through the water. MBT, how you doing there? Yeah, Dolores. D. Michael. Yeah, breathe in, breathe out. Take a deep breath. I need to calm things down. I don't need to add to the chaos. I know sometimes I get people riled up. AI and idiots took my job. Yeah, Naya Papaya. I hear you. Job pays your bills. Yeah, that's why I haven't given up on my day job. All these people think you become TikTok famous, you instantly become wealthy. That's not the case. There's a lot of people with large followings that all the money still goes to the social media companies, and that's how by design. Or they have all the power. They could, per the terms and conditions, they can cancel your account at any time. You have no legal recourse. So you're going to base a business based upon that sand. If you got TikTok shop, you violate the terms and condition, there goes your shop. And they will dog into a robot. There'll be nobody to appeal to. I've had it happen to me. I lost an account at 38,000. You don't forget things like that. And your dysfunctional relationship with the social media company becomes more evident. You realize they really don't care about us as consumers, because we'll just start a new account, which is what I did. Hey, the ducks! All the ducks are in a row there. Yeah, ducks and the geese here. Look at this view, Chicago skyline there. The John Hancock. This is Lake Michigan. People are jogging here. What do you say there, geese? You like the sun there? Yeah, good morning, Dolores Prince. Gotta go to work, what a bummer. So, there used to be a bar at the top on the 95th floor called the Signature Lounge, and the 96th. Actually, the Signature Lounge was on the 96th. There was a restaurant called the Signature Lounge on the 95th. They closed both of those. And hopefully it'll be open and rebranded, but it's been like over a year since it's closed. But there are some other things reopening, so it'll probably come back eventually. I think the observation deck on the 94th floor somehow wants to expand the observation deck up there, which to me would be a good idea. But if they could bring like a bar component to it, and there is a bar, it's called a Sky Bar. It's on the 94th floor. I guess you can buy alcoholic drinks there, but they're probably pretty pricey. But you still got to pay the admission. It used to be you didn't have to pay the admission to go to the Signature Lounge for the price of the drink. It would have been cheaper to just go up there and buy a drink than to pay for the observation deck. But there's some penthouse apartments that on these roofs, Gold Coast here. Thanks, Izzy. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming along here on YouTube. I know it sucks that I'm not on TikTok, but blame TikTok for driving me away. Thanks, CJ's mommy. Yeah, Book of Eli. Denzel Washington. There you go. Chris, thanks for being on. Let's see. Michael. Motor oil. Okay, so motor oil. Honestly, I know there were military and ICE en masse on Sunday. They actually arrested somebody by the bean, and that's controversial now because they think that was a faulty arrest and they didn't deserve to be arrested, and they might have a legal case. But personally, I was expecting on Monday to see what I saw on TV on Sunday. I did not see it. You see that Ernie Chicago Nuggies Ernesto, he lives in Archer Heights, which is down the orange line going towards Midway. And he was roughed up. He was slammed up against the hood of the car, had to show his identification. They wouldn't take his real ID. They took his social security card, and I saw in the comments, they're like, are we expected to carry our social security card around as U.S. citizens to prove? And it's so funny that your social security card, that's what they accepted. It doesn't have a picture. My social security card's from like the early 1980s. It's this little blue piece of paper that has, just like typewritten stuff on it. And it's all like frayed because you can't laminate it. And so that's what we're relying on after we went through all this real ID bullshit. You need it to fly. But having a driver's license doesn't prove citizenship. We know this. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to have a U.S. driver's license. But we thought the real ID had something to do with that. But so I guess your passport would work. Either your passport, social security card, or birth certificate. So once Ernie proved that, they zip-tied him, or they put him in handcuffs. They put a taser in his back. This is a U.S. citizen. Ernie's a U.S. citizen in Chicago. It happened to the raid on the south side. The south side, they rounded up U.S. citizens with the Venezuelans that were here undocumented in that building. And they zip-tied kids. ICE, armed men, zip-tied kids, and had them lined up on the side of the building there. U.S. citizens, African Americans. And this is what we're expected to tolerate in this administration, which I'm generally against it, but what no one cares. I don't expect anybody to care about my opinion. This is America. No one cares about what anybody else thinks anyway. We're all on our own. Think of the Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young song, Fort Didnau, Ohio, when the National Guard fired upon U.S. citizens protesting, students, 20-year-olds, firing upon 20-year-olds. And that was a mistake. I know that war was controversial. The protests against the war were controversial. Listen to my words. In my opinion, the real way to protest this administration is to hurt it economically. Somehow, us as consumers, we need to find a way to make our disgust known with what's going on and somehow hurt the billionaires. And I know I'm sounding like class warfare here, but I honestly believe stock market does not care if the America turns into an authoritarian regime. I think the stock market would love that because it's fascism. It's the merger of government with business. And can we really rely on corporate America to look out for the interests of the little guy? We can't even rely on the U.S. justice system to look out for the interests of the little guy. The U.S. justice system has been bought and sold by money. And Citizens United proves that. The amount of money in our politics ruins our politics. Why is there so much money in our politics? Corporate lobbyists who do get returns on their investment through tax breaks, favoritism, government contracts, defense contracts, you name it. If you don't like what I'm saying, you can change the channel. We're going to watch the sunrise here. We're going to walk down Michigan Avenue. Part of me moving to YouTube is I'm tired of dancing around TikTok's algorithm. And none of this is free speech, but YouTube is much more tolerant TikTok's getting worse from my perspective as a content creator. So here we'll head to, welcome to Chicago. Here's the Gold Coast here. We're heading to work here. Thanks for tuning in here. Yeah, we'll get to Oak Street Beach. We'll see the waves here. We'll walk down Michigan Avenue and we'll head to work. Then we'll see what happens in that Cubs game later today. Again, corporation, MLB. You know, why am I promoting the National Football League, the Major League Football, Major League Baseball? You know, but I'm not totally against fun and entertainment. It's something to talk about. That's why one of the best comments one of the trolls made against me, and this is, there's insights, you know, there's things you can learn from what the trolls tell you, because they call you on your own bullshit, which is good. They said, look at this hippie. He's a socialist, but he films capitalism. And this is it. This is capitalism. What built all this? Capitalism. What built cities? Capitalism. But, you know, capitalism didn't build the highways. That was socialism. Strangely, capitalism did build the CTAL system. It was a for-profit private company, but then it had to be socialized and taken over by a government authority after all the infrastructure was built and paid for by private corporations. Can you believe that? All that steel. Same thing, the Golden Gate Bridge over the San Francisco Bay there. That was privately financed. That wasn't government. During the Great Depression, and it was because they wanted to develop real estate in Marin County. And so private equity built the Golden Gate Bridge, and what a beautiful bridge it is, complete with sidewalks. And to develop real estate in Marin County, because otherwise, before that, you had to take all the ferries, and you still have to take the ferries to get across there. Sausalito and where the Grateful Dead eventually moving up there. But here's the Streeterville skyline of John Hancock. We'll head down Michigan Avenue, Gold Coast there. Yeah, I remember that when 9/11, when Bush was reading the book there. Yep. Yeah, we had a mixed economy. Prince, yeah, we had we still have a mixed economy. We don't have a totally capitalist society. We have a mixed economy where there's a lot of socialism built into it, which is why taxes are so high and why taxes are higher in cities than they are in the hinterland, because we have a lot of more programs that require socialism in cities, you know. And yeah, we mixed economy. It's true. We don't have one thing or the other. But the wealth still gets concentrated in the capitalism. And, you know, the rich get richer. We're not surprised by this. It's by design. Eliza, how you doing there? Yeah, Calgon, take me away. Yeah, we'll get a Chicago-style hot dog. Yeah, I vote, but I realize we're trapped by the electoral college system. Look how much everything's been gerrymandered, and now blue states will become more blue, red states will become more red, and never the twain shall meet, because it's not. We never had direct democracy. The founding fathers feared direct democracy because they feared like a demagogue or some social media guru would take over the government, and they were right. But yeah, you should vote. It's a good civics thing, but you also should do jury duty, all the stuff that's boring that no one wants to do, you know. And I'm the same way. Here's Lake Michigan. This is Oak Street Beach. But again, most people vote like me. You hold your nose and you vote for whatever party you think is the least evil. And there's problems with both parties. That's the conundrum I have. I desperately want a third centrist party. Why don't we have that option? Money. Both the right and left. It's the interest of the Democratic and Republican Party not to allow a third party to take the center. Because both of them want to mine from the center, even though the extremes on the right and left dominate our politics. And that's why we have a shutdown. By design. Here's Oak Street Beach, waves of Lake Michigan. We got 7:21 in the AM here, heading to work here on a Thursday. Thanks for tuning in there. Look, you can look all the way to Navy Pier. I know, that's a good point, the true few. If we don't have an educated populace with civics, you know, you could get a jury of your peers that might just, they say, all right, this person, I don't like this person's politics, let's throw them in jail. And it's possible. You know, our system is not perfect. It's the best system we got. And but yeah, I mean, what other institution are we going to completely lose faith in? I've lost faith in the Federal Reserve. I think the Federal Reserve serves Wall Street and corporate interest over us, and mainly the Federal Reserve exists so we could finance our debt, and that's why they set interest rates, mainly so we could sell the 10-year U.S. Treasury on the international market, and the world will buy our debt. If the world stops buying our debt, we're in a world of hurt. And so that's why we shouldn't piss off the rest of the world, because why should they buy our debt? It's not their debt, it's our debt. Because they thought, you know, we have a strong military to pay back our debts. But that might not be the case. I've lost faith in the Supreme Court. These are major institutions that we took for granted, you know, like in the 70s and 80s, as bad as we thought, you know, either Reagan or Jimmy Carter was, depending on your political persuasion there. At least Paul Volcker at the Federal Reserve, you realized he wasn't beholden to a president. Reagan, I'm sure Reagan didn't like Paul Volcker jacking interest rates up to 15% in 1982 with a horrible recession going on. My dad was unemployed during that recession. And we took that for granted. I think Paul Volcker was appointed by Jimmy Carter, but he served through the Reagan administration. Here's the John Hancock. This is ancient history now, I know. But people don't remember when people complain about 6% interest rates. People were paying 15% interest rates on housing in 1982. You know, that kind of puts a damper on the economy. It did affect the stock market. Buy a harp? Yeah. Yeah, look at people with the dogs here, greeting the sun here, Oak Street Beach. So at least we get this inspiring walk. We'll take what sometimes the best things in life are free: a sunrise, a walk along the beach. Just be able to walk to work. My health that I take for granted, I realize that my legs getting better. Things you wake up one day, you realize you got the aches and pains, you know. There's whispers. Hey, look at all these people jogging. Got sunshine. The Cubs play later today. Have a chance. So you're saying there's a chance? See, so Tyler Smith, I hear what you're saying there. You're angry and frustrated with the Democratic Party for letting us down. I understand that. Would you vote for a third party, something other than MAGA? That's what I'm interested in. That. Are you desperately looking for another option, or are you okay with the Trump administration? And that's okay if you are. You know, different strokes for different folks. I don't expect everybody's political persuasions to align with mine. Actually, I expect the opposite. I realize I'm in the minority on this. But we're not alone. We're not alone. A lot of times I'm just doing stream of consciousness, working stuff out in my mind and reacting to comments. And so don't take this so seriously. It all just floats off into the ether. Thanks for understanding there. Hey, Jimmy Cricket. I finally watched, I totally missed it in 2020. I guess it must have came out when the pandemic was going on, so I didn't realize it. They made a live Pinocchio movie in 2020, and I watched it. It was pretty good. You know, and it was more, it's not exactly a children's story. A lot of those fairy tales, you know, seeing Pinocchio strung up from a tree, which is actually in the movie, would kind of give kids nightmares, almost gave me nightmares, but it's an interesting movie, more closely aligned with the original folklore of the story of Pinocchio. But that Jiminy Cricket reminded me of it. They actually do the whale, but there's no Jiminy Cricket. Jiminy Cricket came from Walt Disney. There was no Jiminy Cricket. It was the little bug. It was the bug. He kept seeing a bug talk to him, and that was Jiminy Cricket, which is totally different than the Disney's Jiminy Cricket. Hey, there it is. There's the John Hancock, the old Playboy building. Originally it was Palmolive, then Playboy bought it, and now it's housing there. The Art Deco that's lower in front of the beige building in front of the black building. But the black building's John Hancock, 875 North Michigan. And hey, we made it to Michigan Avenue. I'll try to cut out those reruns. We spotted some Halloween decorations there on Astor Street. Walking home. The rest of this month, we're just gonna look for Halloween decorations. That'll get me off of talking about politics, because I know no one wants to hear that. We hear enough of that. Just can't look away. Yeah, buying a harp. I don't know if he's talking about a harp beer or harp the instrument. Yeah, government shutdown, Red Dog. Yeah, I think they're going to use it. They're going to use this as an excuse to cut government programs, lay people off, and blame it on the Democrats. And if anything, the current administration is good. It's casting blame for their own actions on other people, and other people are okay with that. Where is the accountability? Oh, we don't need accountability. Isn't that great? Imagine the political capital you can gain without not being held accountable by your constituents. It's great. Here's Oak Street, the Rodeo Drive of Chicago. Here, Lakeshore, Michigan Avenue. Here's the One Magnificent Mile. Residential housing here. We'll go by the 900 North Michigan building. Yeah, I think the last government shutdown was in 2019 or 2018. Was that 2018 or 2019? Seems like ancient history. Seems like I think a lot of us in Generation X, we feel the same way. It's like we remember the 90s. If you didn't party too hard like I did, maybe you don't remember the 90s like the 60s. And then it was the millennium, and then it was 9/11. And then we woke up and it's 2025, and we're like, what happened? You know, it's like we fast forward through all this Gulf Wars and Afghanistan and then the pandemic, and all of a sudden, but the stock market's 3 times higher, even though we went through major drawdowns. I just can't believe we all weathered that 2009. Stock market literally got cut in half. Don't think it can't happen again. Hey, Louis Vuitton. I argue that's what we need. We need. Not that I want economic hardship because it'll affect the poor more, but I want economic hardship for our political masters, and it'll just be more chaos. I know it's not good for the social order, but they're the ones that create this system, and let's put it on them to keep it all together by manipulating us to supporting our corporate overlords. Don't blame me, I voted for Kodos. That illustrates it perfectly, the 1996 Halloween Treehouse of Horror episode, when that was the election between Bill Clinton and Bob Dole. I bet you there's a whole generation of... I don't blame you. There's no reason to know about this guy anymore. No, I'm joking. Bob Dole was a great veteran. He fought in World War II, was wounded in World War II. And he was a conservative politician out of Kansas. But he was pretty powerful in the Senate at that time, Newt Gingrich's house, and he was running for president against Bill Clinton. And that's what the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, they introduced those aliens, those Kang and Kodos, and they morphed themselves. They said, we could easily take over this planet. All we have to do is change our form or life form likeness into Bill Clinton and Bob Dole and these idiots in America will vote for one of us. And there was Ross Perot as the third party candidate, and they said you can always vote for a third party. And they said, go ahead, throw your vote away. And everybody laughed because Ross Perot was probably the closest in recent memory that a third party candidate actually, had a chance of winning the White House, but he lost. 92, he actually did better than he did in 1996, and that shows you. and then at the end, Homer is enslaved by the aliens, and he's being whipped there, and he goes, don't blame me, I voted for Kodos, which shows it didn't matter which one he voted for, he would still end up in the same situation. And that's the lesson. As much as the Democrats talk about the middle class, they're still too much for Wall Street. That's in my opinion. It's constructive criticism. I lean to the left. I'm definitely not, I'm against MAGA, and that's my right as an American. You can't force me to take the medicine, I'll resist. Here's, hey, we got the corn shocks here. This is Water Tower Place here. When have Americans ever agreed about anything? Hey, we'll enjoy Halloween. We'll enjoy this fine early October weather. And we'll see what happens in the ball games later today. Hey, there's the Chicago flag there. Go to Harry Carey's on the 7th floor here. You got the Chicago flag. Third Coast. Akira. Get that coat there, that fur coat. Hey, there's the water tower. It's looking nice. There's the Olympia Center, Pump House, Water Tower, Chicago. You become a company therapist. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Lisa. I hear what you're saying there. Yeah, isn't that interesting? As stark as the contrast was between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, as I joke, Wall Street wins either way. Like, the Biden administration didn't hurt Wall Street. It actually rose significantly. I think it rose more under the Biden than it rose under Trump. And so we're right back to where we started. Here's the Olympia Center. Look at that curve. So here's Chicago and Michigan Avenue. The water tower survived the 1871 Great Chicago Fire. There's the Park Hyatt. Say hello to George Lucas. Top there, the Nomi restaurant. Remember when I got kicked out of Ralph Lauren? Let's see if we can do that again. There's the John Hancock. See those X's? That's for wind shear. It's a postmodern building, probably one of the first postmodern buildings. Just by that simple trapezoidal pyramid shape with the X's. Just like the Trans-America building in San Francisco, which took it to the full extreme, the pyramidal skyscraper. That building's amazing because they got redwoods. If you ever go to San Francisco and you go to the bottom of the Trans-America building, they got giant 100, 200 feet tall redwoods at the base of it. There they're flying the Cubs flag, the Bears flag there. The Cubs play later today. 2:08 there at Wrigley Field against the Padres. Conspiracy theories, yeah. Yeah, there's people on TikTok that point out that there were conspiracy theorists that voted for Trump because they were worried that Zionists were running our media and controlling our politics and, forcing us to do foreign aid and stuff like that. And then, then the TikTok deal, you look into it and it's like, wow, all these people are pro-Israel and they're buying TikTok. Oh, is that a coincidence? Oh, we're supposed to make sense of all this, and we're like, come on, write conspiracy theories. We thought you'd be angry about this, but no, they like it. It's really strange. There's Saks Fifth Avenue. This is the empty mall. There are people breaking. There's Tiffany's, Breakfast at Tiffany's, the Peninsula. Here, we're waiting across here. If I zoom in, there's Gino's East. There's Gino's East, the Chicago-style pizza there. They got a comedy club over there. And the other way is Giordano's. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Chicago here. We're heading to work on a Tuesday. We're Michigan Avenue, Michigan, and Superior. People getting out of hospitals. Here's the One Chicago Tower. Check out the mums here. Mum's the word. Yeah, thanks for checking out Chicago. I appreciate it. We got problems, but we got positives too. They said through August, so I think it's June, July, and August, we broke the record for the amount of people staying in hotels, which the previous record was set in 2019, before the pandemic. I suspect a lot of it was domestic tourism, people that chose. I honestly, I'm being honest. As an American, I feel less motivated to travel abroad because I'm worried about anti-American sentiment, well-deserved because of the actions of the current administration. Are you listening, people on the right? I feel less inclined to travel to areas outside the United States because I feel like we do look like the ugly American really bad now because of the actions of the current administration. And I fully understand and empathetic and don't expect foreigners, people from Europe, south of the border, or Asia, to want to travel for tourism to Disneyland in the United States if you're going to get hassled by a bunch of angry U.S. officials looking at your papers and sizing you up and down. You know, what are we, the Third Reich? You know, when did America become the nation of show me your papers? You know, now we all get to feel like what the Native Americans had to endure, being forced on the reservation system, you know, and the people that were most American, we treated like the least Americans, and don't forget that didn't happen. And we have plenty of precedents of America delving into this jingoist, know-nothing, nativist, white supremacist, Christian nationalist. It's been in this country's DNA since the founding, and we have to acknowledge that. It's always been who we are. And we have to exercise these demons, which will forever haunt us. Here's the giant squirrel here. Here's the squirrel. Right in front of Nike Town there. They got the squirrel there with the mums. There, Pegasus Premium. You can do the new display there. Buy the running shoe. Just in time for the marathon. A lot of times, marathon's not this weekend, next weekend. So a lot of times, like, I live near the New Balance store. Usually they'll have all kinds of promotions there before the marathon. There's the giant Starbucks. We're at Erie in Michigan, checking out the mums and the ornamental cabbage and kale. Yeah, thanks, Taco. We welcome all viewers here. Even people that don't agree with me. You're all welcome here. Yeah, show me your papers. I'll show you my toilet paper. Commercial paper, that's what they call your paycheck, commercial paper. But I feel mostly bad for people that work for TSA, people that work for federal prisons. Federal prison guards have to go without pay. They're taking out loans to feed their family during this government shutdown. And both parties will blame each other. But who's the party in charge? Who's the party that controls all three houses of government? You know, so they blame it on the people that don't have any power. Okay, this is all the power they have to do is put themselves on the gears and force economic chaos and havoc. And so sometimes it's worth it to take the blame. Sometimes it's worth it to stand up for principles, even though it hurts you and causes pain. Here's, stars here. Everybody's a star on the Mag Mile here. Hey, we'll go by La Katrina. We got Dia de los Muertos coming up here. We got Halloween coming up. I hope they keep La Katrina up here through Dia de los Muertos. What is beautiful Halloween display, or the fall display here with the pumpkins, the mums. There's La Katrina there. She's looking nice. Yeah. And I know when I was on TikTok, all my long-term friends would put the La Katrina stickers on. Sorry, we'll find a way to do that on YouTube. The gamification of social media continues. Here, Ohio and Michigan Street. Aritzia. Hey, look at that scaffolding they're working. Yeah, I think they're gonna put a new store there. It used to be where the Under Armour was, but they're getting it ready, hopefully by in time for the Christmas holiday shopping season here on the Mag Mile. See, here I am railing about capitalism, but showing capitalism, promoting capitalism on the Mag Mile, I know. Hey, let's go. Lumber and Supply, crossing Ohio Street, heading down Michigan Avenue. Almost to work here. We got 7:42. So we'll probably see the Bean at lunch. We'll probably go through Daily Plaza and head through the Loop. I tried to film the bridge lift yesterday and failed miserably. They were already through the main channel. They were stuck there waiting for the Lake Avenue Bridge to open. And they said they were waiting there for a half an hour. So I got tired of waiting. So I waited for another 15 minutes and that bridge did not open there. It's under construction there, the Lake Street Bridge over the South Branch of the Chicago River there in the Loop. They're working on several bridges now. State Street Bridge, Lake Street Bridge, and I hear they're going to work on the Chicago Avenue Bridge. So we'll keep you posted on this. For the last several years, all those construction projects impact traffic into and out of the Loop there. Yeah, La Katrina. You're doing sit-ups, sit-up and stretches. There you go. Hey, thanks for liking Chicago. Yeah, there's positives and negatives to everything. Some things are... Chicago has an interesting skyline. We got interesting skyscrapers. Manhattan's interesting, but they're different. Manhattan's much bigger, many more skyscrapers, more dense, more people on the street, but there's more garbage, more rats, because they don't have alleys. At least downtown Chicago has alleys that we utilize, and it helps out a lot with loading and even the streets below the streets. Here's the Intercontinental Hotel. They got the fall decorations here. Used to be the Medina Athletic Association. They saved that facade there on the Gwen there, the hotel, Art Deco. Look at the pumpkins here, the mums. So here's Michael Jordan's restaurant coming up here. Michael Jordan's Steakhouse on Michigan Avenue. It used to be on LaSalle, now it's here. Michael Jordan's Steakhouse, Costa Shy. Hey, we're almost to the Chicago River here. Michigan and Illinois Street. See if the left turns here. From Peoria. Moved out west 45 years ago. Hey, well, thanks for checking in there. Yeah, Peoria, Illinois there. That's great. Yeah, Richard Pryor came from Peoria. I wish there was a train that went to Peoria. I know there's a train that goes to Springfield, and there's a train that goes to Champaign, which a lot of people go to University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign there, go take that. I've taken it to Saluki, taken it down to Effingham. But it's interesting. I remember when I went to Effingham, and it's appropriate we talk about this moment. Effingham used to be a sundown town. What's that? During the racist, it started with the Jim Crow in the South, but even cities in the North, in Illinois and Indiana, they were known as sundown towns where you didn't want to be a non-white person after dark because of the historical racism of this country. So we all, almost everybody universally acknowledges that sundown towns were wrong, and we're glad they no longer exist. And I did see people of color using the train station. They said people could use the train station back in the old days, but they weren't able to enter into the town, and people would give them nasty looks. So contrast that to the area we're going through with ICE, where the Supreme Court has said ICE can racially profile people, and don't you think you're starting to treat the sanctuary cities like sundown cities? But I know the attempt is to round up people who are breaking the law, but they're rounding up U.S. citizens along with it, and it's adversely affecting non-white people more than white people. Am I wrong in bringing this out? I don't mean to say everything's racist, but we have to acknowledge that if sundown towns were wrong, and I know some people are equally appalled as sanctuary cities exist, but, we knew that the means that they would have to go through to round these people up would impact Americans. And so, I think there's a portion of America that likes the facts that big cities are being punished, and like that U.S. citizens that live in American big cities are being punished because we harbor people they deem to be so horrible that they're just poor people trying to find a new country. I know there's criminals amongst everybody. There's criminals amongst any segment of our society. There's criminals that are wealthy people that live in gated communities that are criminals too. Here's the Wrigley building. But same as it ever was. We'll find a way to get through this. Here's Jean-Baptiste Pointe-de-Sable. What was it like when he lived here in the 1790s as a mixed race person with a Native American wife in the French colonial culture? And he moved with his wife across the Mississippi River because they, before the Trail of Tears, because he saw the writing on the wall. He saw, just like the early settlers for the Cherokees, they left before the Trail of Tears. They went out to Arkansas and Oklahoma in the 1820s and 30s and tried to deal with Spain. They realized they had to play the colonial powers off each other, as they've been playing the British off the Americans and the British off the French, and they were used as proxies. The French would use certain tribes as proxies in their war against domination of the continent with Britain. You realize most of colonialism started as a corporation. The Dutch East India Company and the British East India Company were the king and queen would grant grants to private citizens to start a corporation to exploit the resources of cultures with less technology throughout the world. And so colonialism started with corporations. Do people realize that? The Dutch East India Company, which now you could trace Dutch Shell Oil. Dutch Shell Oil is the heir to the Dutch East India Company. And you can argue that British Petroleum is a subsidiary of the British East India Company. Oh, imagine that. So think about Standard Oil and Exxon Mobil, Amoco, Sunoco. There, look, Lowe's. Yeah, we're all connected. We're all connected in the tree of life. All humans have common ancestors that originated on certain continents. We've all migrated. The truth is, there's probably been several injections of Asian DNA to the North American continent, but also some might have come from Polynesia, some might have come from Africa, including the Olmecs, because they could have came across the Atlantic as easily as they came across the Pacific. People were marooned here with shipwrecks, and there were several waves, not just one wave that came across the Bering Strait. There were several waves. There's the old ancient civilizations, the Clovis civilizations that go back 20,000 years in North and South America, from the tip of South America to North America. And then there was subsequent injections of new people coming across the land bridge until the Ice Age had ended. And we actually really don't know. Native American DNA is very complex, and a lot of Native Americans resist because they consider, rightly so, genetic study to be a colonial science. It's very good at determining European ancestry, and they've gotten better at determining African history or ancestry, but it's Native American ancestry is very hard to trace, especially if it's very far back. And from my experience, a lot of indigenous nations, they resist genetic studies because they don't trust them, and that's their right. That's their right. And some do. No group's monolithic. I believe you could probably find Native Americans that voted for Trump. They're probably in the minority, but you could find Native Americans that are vastly against any American government, no matter who the president is, because they really, rightly so, still consider themselves sovereigns, existing under the protection of the United States with their own constitutions and their own governments, independent of the United States. But most Americans don't look at it that way. They just think they got to go to college for free, which isn't true. All that casino money. Oh. Everybody thinks everybody gets checks in the mail. It's not true. Here's Michigan Avenue, Michigan and Wacker here. Hey, are you single? Yeah. Scan that QR code, they'll hook you up. They'll find somebody compatible with you. Hey, look at the Wrigley building. Yeah, Windy City. But Native American history is American history too. People are like, "What do you talk about this ancient history?" I'm like, we need to talk about it more. I didn't learn it in school, you know. We don't need no education. We learned the colonial European. We studied the Revolutionary War and the Civil War ad nauseum. The Trail of Tears was like a paragraph. And they had that one painting picture, and I was like, they said the Cherokees, they didn't talk about the Creeks, the Choctaws, the Chickasaws, the Seminoles. The Seminoles resisted. A lot of the Seminoles were Creeks that went down into Florida. They used to live in Georgia and Alabama, combined with other remnants of tribes in Florida. And a lot of escaped enslaved people went to Florida and merged with the Seminoles, and the U.S. government didn't like that either. And all the treaties, they were like, you can't harbor escaped slaves per the treaty. They're like, some of the Native Americans owned slaves, like the mixed blood Cherokees. A lot of the mixed blood Cherokees were Melungeons. They had more European than Native, but they still felt a loyalty to the Cherokee nation and aligned with the British instead of the Americans during the Revolutionary War. Here's the Wrigley Building. There's the Carbine Carbon. I might post some. I got some good footage at the top of that. If I can get some more with the sun, I might post some more today. Here, I'm going to head to work here. We got 7:53. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching along the lakefront there. Listen to my pontification here. We'll be here at lunchtime, and then we'll see what happens later today, depending on how the Cubs game goes. The Cubs versus Padres, 208 there. So have a good day here from Chicago. We'll probably check out the Bean and Daily Plaza at lunchtime, the Loop, and then we'll see what else is going on, and then we'll decide if we want to head up to Wrigley or not, depending on how the game goes. So have a good day. Go Cubs, and thanks for tuning in. Thanks to my mods. Have a great day here from Chicago. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks for watching YouTube. Really appreciate it. Hey, 195 people. We're doing good. Thanks a lot.